How I got the arrogant IT guy fired. Over the years, my job has been pretty diverse. I enjoy all the master electrician and instrumentation work, but building and maintaining networks has been a joy as well. There are so many pretty blinking lights. All the testing and commissioning tools are fun to play with as well. There are also lasers. One thing that never gets old is seeing people's faces who don't know me that well. When I rock up in high-vis clothing to start messing around in network cabinets, here I am, a slightly scruffy-looking older guy, glue and resin on work boots, knocking about in IT. It's pretty funny and handy sometimes. Glue and I haven't been on good terms since kindy. I don't know why. As an apprentice, I managed to get half a bottle of blue conduit glue in my hair for fuck's sake. Tom was a junior government system administrator working at a regional IT dept. When the position of IT manager became available at a 2,000-student government high school, Tom was encouraged, finessed/manipulated/conned, to apply. See, Tom was a cockhead. As a wanker of the first order, in the 4 months that he'd been there after transferring in, Tom had pissed off the whole government IT team. You know that person who has to comment on everything, thinks they know everything, thinks they are always the smartest in a room, but is actually only about 67% competent? And a bit lazy? This was Tom. The principal was so glad to have a government sysadmin apply for the role that they changed the job title from supervisor to manager to entice him. The role had an office and 2 support staff. It was also arranged that Tom would be given more control over the school network than previous supervisors. I heard later that his then government IT director may have suggested the title enhancement to the principal as part of the finesse. Tom had his own fiefdom. It also didn't take him long to piss the principal off either, as well as the admin staff and most of the teachers. I'd done work with government IT for some time before Tom showed up and knew everyone, though only gotten to know him peripherally. He had yet to rub me the wrong way. We had 2 biggish jobs at the high school about a year after Tom started there. Change out a shit ton of keyed door locks for a brand new, standalone networked door access system we would install and maintain. And change out existing room lighting for energy-efficient LED panels. These 2 jobs would each be done during a 2-week term break, either side of a 10-week school term. I would get to run both jobs. In the planning phase of the door access network, Tom made it known that he would be trained on the new door system and be in charge of it, since it was a network in his school. The principal made it known whose school it was, and that Tom would stay right the fuck away from it since it was standalone and had nothing to do with him. Tom was not happy about this. One Tuesday, a little over 5 weeks since the door system had been live, I was driving to a job when I got the phone call that kicked off this tale. High school called. They're having trouble with the new door system. Turning the car around, I wasn't sure what annoyed me more. That my sing-along with Blink 182 had just been interrupted, or that I would now miss out on scones fresh from the oven. At the system operator terminal PC in an admin office, I hear that there were 2 issues. Some teachers couldn't open some doors this morning, and some other doors that the admin staff tried to change functions on weren't responding. I suspected the regular user teething issues. We were 5 weeks into the 10-week term at this stage. They went on to explain that they'd looked and found the teacher's door access had been changed to remove some doors. They'd re-added the doors and fixed that, but the doors they were trying to change functions on weren't responding. Looking in the system on their user login, they were right. They'd re-added these doors correctly for these teachers. But why wasn't the system updating the door changes? Logging in as the admin, I see that apart from the hub in this office, the other 18 network hubs are not responding. Weird. Unlocking the cabinet, I see that the fiber optic patch lead, which connects to the other hubs, is dangling in space. Very weird. These take some doing to unplug. They don't just fall out. Reconnecting the patch lead and rechecking the network, I see the other hubs are responding, so I push the door changes through. There are still questions though, so I open the system log. I see that the changes to the teacher's access was made by one of the admin users at 5:33 p.m., and the hubs went offline soon after. Strange because the admin staff finished at 4:30 p.m. The log also showed that someone who is not admin staff entered this office at 5:08 p.m. Tom. I sat there and thought about asking the admin staff some questions, but decided against it. I suspected that Tom had insinuated himself here over the past couple of weeks to get the gist of how the door program worked and had gotten a user login to boot. If I kicked up a fuss, he might be able to IT doublespeak the teacher changes. Also, the patch lead being out could be waved away as incompetence on my part. As I was thinking, the admin staff said that Tom had been in earlier and had overheard the issues they were having. He'd said something to the effect of, "That's what you get when you let electricians manage a network." Oh, okay. He was being pissy about being banned from this system. My crystal ball went through a variety of scenarios, and I decided to let sleeping dogs lie for now. 3 days later, on the Friday, I got another call about the high school's door system. Checking in and checking it out, I found that the issues they had were almost identical to the first, except that only 4 hubs were offline. After going to one of the affected hubs and plugging the patch lead back in, I opened the system log again, to find it empty. What the flying fuck? The daily backup file had been deleted as well. Only my admin login could do these things, and how the fuck did he get that? Checking that the secondary backup on an external drive was still intact, I dumped that into my laptop and had a swivel on the chair for a few minutes. Yep, this backup showed that the admin login had been used to do the teacher's changes this time and delete the system log, all after the admin staff had left yesterday. This operator console PC had been provided by Tom. It was one of the school assets. The government image was supposed to have been wiped and a clean operating system put on, so it couldn't be connected to the government networks. Maybe Tom had a keylogger in there somewhere. I gave it a good Sparky go, but couldn't find anything. I even checked for cameras. After changing the admin password, I left and put on some Nick Cave in the car. That evening, while Mr. Cave and Daniels kept me company, I looked up keyloggers, and then went through my boxes of spare parts toys. It was secret squirrel time. On Monday, I timed my arrival to the school just as the admin staff were leaving. I just wanted to check some things on the system. They left and left me to it. I placed one small camera under the desk to see the back of the PC tower, one on a shelf looking at the screen, and one on top of a corner cupboard to see the room. Happy with my work, I went home. That Thursday, same thing again. Different teachers affected, and different hubs offline, but the same thing. Admin login used to wipe the logs and backup. I changed the admin password again, for reasons. After coming back that afternoon to retrieve footage from the cameras, I figured out what he was doing. The first time, he used the user login to make changes, pulled the patch lead, then installed a keylogger device on the keyboard USB cable into the tower. It looked like a little black USB adapter thingy. He used this to get my admin login to wipe the system log and delete the backup, so there'd be no evidence of his card accessing the room. What he was doing was a fucking stupid way to go about it. His ego must be a thing of wonder. The contempt he must have held for my abilities, as just a Sparky, to figure things out, even without the cameras, was boggling. I maintain systems and networks far more complex than this, like the school's security system, for example, or a similar door access system in a much more secure facility. Okay, fucker, game on. Over the next 4 weeks, Tom and I went through these dance steps 4 more times. I heard all about him suggesting that if he ran the system, a professional sysadmin, there wouldn't be issues like these. I didn't mention to anyone about the logs or backups. I just kept collecting my video and secondary backups, because through my association with government IT, I'd learned a few things about their policies, and wanted to fuck with Tom, and maybe collect some more ammunition before I absolutely fucking wrecked him. Purposefully using keyloggers on a government asset is a big no-no. The next 2-week term break was here, and we began changing out light fittings. It was easy work, and I had a team of 8. Once I kicked them off, I went to work. I added a relay card to each of 6 specially selected security system expansion points in 6 different buildings. These buildings were where the people worked who disliked Tom the most. I'd worked at the school long enough to know all about it. Relays are wonderful. Give me enough relays, timers, and contactors, and I can make your wildest electrical control dreams come true. A relay is a switch, that's all. Like a light switch that you can turn on-off without being there. Here's the thing about data cables that not a lot of people know. Data cables connect the data socket in an office to a patch panel in a network rack. There are 8 wires inside, but they each have very specific jobs. 4 are commonly used to carry data traffic, 2 or 1 pair for upload, 2 for download, another pair for power to a PoE device, like a wireless access point, Say you figured out a way to get one specific pair of these 8 wires into, let's say, a relay. You could then maybe interrupt the upload wires or download wires or power wires. Any of these would cause issues for your computer's ability to communicate. If you could turn the relays on and off at opportune times, for selected people, perhaps via a security system you had remote access to, you could maybe introduce weird intermittent faults in a network. If you could do this without it looking like the cables in a network cabinet patch panel had been touched, you might now have a method to cause grief without it being traceable through IT magic. Sure, a competent IT person would assume the cable was damaged and go test it. But what if when you went to test, it was all okay? It would maybe look like a network system issue that a competent sysadmin should be able to diagnose and fix. A critical part of all this would be if you had a job, as an electrician, to make alterations to a building's lighting. You could then turn some power circuits off, so that the network cabinet in a building was unpowered for a while. You could then take data cables out of patch panels without it being noticed by a sysadmin. You could run a new length of data cable and terminate it into the patch panel, and make a nice coupled join of the 2 cables in the ceiling, then split off some pairs to relays. This could be done over 2 days. You could then begin switching the principal's relay on the 3rd day of the 2-week student break. It would be pretty easy keeping track of Tom's whereabouts, so you could make the cable appear okay for testing. Once the principal was good and pissed off at Tom for not being able to fix their issues, you could start switching the admin manager's relay. The next day, you could go to work on the head of English in another building, then the head of science in another. Having Tom out of his office, and you having a legitimate reason to be in there, lighting job, would mean you could have a real good look around and find the USB keylogger. Standing in Tom's office, I took a picture of the keylogger among the mess on his desk. It might have been hidden in a drawer before that. Then I called my mate, Tom's old boss, the regional director of government IT. I told him about the issues I'd had with the door access system, the videos, the keylogger. He came down, took his own picture, and called the principal. On my laptop, in the principal's office, I showed them the videos of Tom's vandalism on the door system. The director examined the keylogger. It was so much worse than I thought. They found not only my system info on it, but info from the school accounting department, director's department, and more. Tom had so much incriminating evidence on it from all kinds of government departments that he was bend over no lube fucked. When Tom answered the summons to the principal's office, I couldn't help smiling at him. I know that's mean, but I'm only human sometimes. He had no answers to the questions. He tried to claim the keylogger wasn't his. The director shot that down. It had too much stuff from places Tom had access to. It couldn't be anyone else's. Then I showed him the videos. That look he gave me was priceless. He'd figured out I'd done this to him, and it was glorious. A simple electrician. Go fuck yourself, Tom. He wasn't prosecuted, because that would have caused too much of a public stink. But Tom got flagged and would never again be able to work in any government job anywhere in the country. Not as a janitor, or as a contractor doing government work. And since graduating uni, he'd only ever worked in government. Sorry, private industry, he's all yours now. I did say something stupid though. After Tom left principal's office that reveal day, principal asked director if they could send someone competent to look at the school's network issues. Without thinking, I said, "Nah, I'll fix that." I blame having too much fun. After they had me explain what I'd done, because I needed Tom out of his office, I had to cross my heart promise not to do it again. Principal didn't fully understand what I'd done, but director said I was like some evil MacGyver. I put the network cabling back in place and took all my toys home. Thank you for reading. Again, fuck you, Tom.